First of all, breathe. I'm here, listening to you.
What if I'm always too little for everyone? Or worse, what if no one ever sees what I carry inside? Have you ever felt this? As if no matter how hard you try, nothing is enough. Not even the affection you offer, not the presence, not the silence, not the daily effort to be a... It's like you're always trying to fit into a space that was shaped for someone else, trying to fit into a love that doesn't have the shape of your heart. There are wounds that don't scream, but live, opening in silence. That feeling of being disposable, replaceable, invisible. You smile, you reply to messages, you show yourself present. But no one sees when you break inside. No one asks how your soul is. They just demand a stronger version of you. And then comes the doubt. Is it me? Is there something wrong with me? Could this emptiness be me, or just the reflection of a world that doesn't know how to breathe? Because it's not easy to live with the idea of never being truly chosen, of always being the almost, of hearing praise, but never feeling like you belong, of being among many, but feeling alone. This pain is invisible, but it weighs. And sometimes a voice that said, I see you whole, just the way you are. Does this place it? Maybe you haven't said anything yet. Maybe he fakes it well. Maybe no one knows how much you ask yourself, what else do I need to be loved? But here, in this moment, you can stop pretending. Here, your pain has a name, and your silence has an echo. Stay with me, because there's something you need to hear. If this beginning has touched something inside you, it's because this conversation needed to happen. There are a lot of people feeling the same way, and no one is talking about it. And the more this topic spreads, the more it becomes a shelter for those who don't know where to put their pain. So let your gesture echo. Like this video now and subscribe to the channel. That voice is still here. And you can also be a shelter for others. Stay with me. Because there is a type of loneliness that arises when surrounded by people. It's that emptiness that no one sees. An echo inside that insists on saying, you are not enough. And you try. My God, how you try. Give yourself with everything you have, even if you are afraid. A smile on my face, a heart in my hand, and a hidden hope that this time will be different. But it's not. You give of yourself, with presence, with care, with the attention that only someone who truly feels something can offer. But it never seems to be enough, or it's too much. Too much for someone who doesn't know what to do with so much sincere feeling. You mold yourself, you adapt, lower your tone, swallow your words, pretend everything's okay, just so you don't push them away, just to stay there even when the other person can no longer see you. And when you realize you're tired of being what others expect, tired of giving and never receiving in the same measure, tired of expecting reciprocity from those who only know how to consume. And that's where this silent pain is born, the one that nobody notices. Because on the outside, everything is fine. You smile, you respond, you remain present. But inside, there's something crying out for help. It's a kind of rejection that doesn't scream, but slowly eats away. That subtle absence that hurts more than harsh words. The indifference, the disregard. The silence of others when you most need to be seen. It seems like you're always the almost chosen, almost enough, almost the love of someone's life, but never the center, never the shelter, always on the sidelines, always after, always in the background. And then you start to wonder, is there something wrong with me? Is it my intensity? Do I expect too much? Or is the problem just that we're trying to flourish in soil that doesn't welcome us? You begin to doubt your own worth, measuring each word before speaking, hiding parts of themselves for fear of scaring away those who are already halfway out. It keeps getting pruned until it almost disappears. And the cruelest thing is this: when you start to keep quiet, not because you want to, but because you're tired of not being heard. When you start accepting crumbs, because you've forgotten what it's like to feel whole. There is love that makes you sick. There is an absence. That becomes a wound. There is company that makes us feel even more alone. And maybe you won't even talk about it, and maybe you smile at every meeting, say everything is fine, post photos with light captions. But only you know how much it has hurt to hold it all alone. This pain is no exaggeration. She is real. And you don't need to hide it here, because whoever feels this, do you know how difficult it is to continue believing in your own worth when the world insists on measuring you with a crooked ruler? And yet, you continue, with this heart that even wounded insists on loving, with this presence that, even if not recognized, remains firm. This is not weakness, it's too much force. But we'll talk more about that. Stay with me. It's not over yet. And I know, it's not drama, it's pain. Real pain, even if no one takes it seriously. Even if, from the outside, everything seems like an exaggeration. Even though so many times you ask yourself, am I causing a storm? But it's not a storm. It's just the accumulation of so many drops that no one saw. Drops of absence, of unspoken words, of empty looks, of promises that were never fulfilled. It is the echo of so many silent rejections. Those who didn't come with harsh words, but with cold attitude. Those who didn't scream, "I don't want you," but slowly walked away, leaving an unexplained void. And this is the part that hurts the most. When the other simply stops choosing you, without a clear reason, without saying goodbye, without saying what was missing, you give it your all. And yet it seems like there's always some invisible flaw in you, something that no one can explain, but that makes you feel inadequate, insufficient, small. And this doubt grows. It's taking up space. It becomes an internal voice that whispers cruel things in your silences. You start to believe that maybe the problem really is yours. Maybe you love wrong. Maybe you bother. Maybe you are too much or too little. But it's not true. You just learn to question yourself before being questioned. Slow down before someone says it's too intense. To be silent before the other person says, "You're sorry." And I know. It's exhausting to live in this mode of emotional alert, trying to predict whether they will stay or leave, trying not to show it too much so as not to scare anyone, trying to hide how much you just wanted some real affection, no calculation, no game, no test. You deserve to be loved lightly, without having to adapt at every step, without having to prove that you are worth staying. And no, it's not neediness. It's just a lack of reciprocity, of bonds that last, of words that remain after the impact, of affection that does not turn into an unexplained absence. You're tired of loves that only appear when they're needed, of people who disappear when you're at your worst and come back when you've recovered on your own, of having to be strong even when all I wanted was a hug. You need presence, real presence, from someone who sees not only your strength, but also someone who says, "You can rest, I'll hold you for a while." And that's why I'm here, not to fix you, not to say it will magically pass, but to remind you of something you might have forgotten. Your pain is legitimate. Your story deserves space. And you don't have to fit in where you don't breathe. Because we're still going to talk about this calmly. There is still much that needs to be said and heard. And you deserve to listen. But listen, you are not little. It never was. You're just trying to fit into spaces that are too tight for your soul. Trying to be understood by those who only see what is shallow. Trying to love deeply someone who only knows the surface touch. And I know, you've already pruned yourself so much, haven't you? You've hidden beautiful parts of yourself so as not to bother anyone, so as not to seem too much, so as not to scare anyone. But what makes you intense is precisely what makes you rare. And the world is so used to lukewarmness that when someone arrives with truth, with presence, with a feeling of truth, it scares. You are made of silence that embraces, of words that welcome, of gestures that say, stay, even when your heart is in pieces. And that is strength. That is beauty. That is valor. Even if no one has told you this before, you're just trying to fit in where no one knows how to love completely, where affection has an expiration date, where listening is superficial, where presence only lasts as long as you give more than you receive. And then you start to think that the problem is you. But it isn't. It's just that shallow hearts don't know how to deal with the depth of someone who feels with their whole soul. They don't know what to do with someone who truly cares. With someone who asks, "Are you really okay?" and waits for the answer with their whole gaze. And that's okay. Not everyone will know how to welcome you. Not everyone will recognize the value of a calm, firm, present love. But that doesn't diminish who you are in any way. You are the type of person who comforts with their voice, who cares without fuss, that embraces with words. And whoever carries this needs reciprocity, not crumbs, needs shelter, not testing. You need connections, not constant doubts. So please, don't shrink yourself to fit into temporary homes. Don't silence your truth to please those who only come close when they need you. You deserve to be seen in the details, welcomed on your breaks, heard in its silences. Maybe that space is still missing in your life. Maybe someone hasn't arrived yet who sees you completely. But that doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means that you haven't yet found someone who recognizes your light without being bothered by its brightness. And you know, sometimes we just need a place where we don't have to explain ourselves so much, where you don't have to prove yourself, where it can just exist and be embraced as it is. And whoever feels this understands. So comment here. Which part of this video feels like it was written for you? Sometimes your answer can be the hug that another heart needed to find. Follow me. There is still more that needs to be said. Maybe one day you look at all this with more lightness and understand truly that the problem was never having too much, not least the problem. It was just the absence of a right mirror. Someone who would reflect back your truth without distorting it. Someone who would look at you with eyes of welcome, not judgment, with presence, not in a hurry. Because when we spend too much time trying to be accepted, it's easy to believe that there is something wrong inside. But what if it's not you? What if it's the world that walks around with tired eyes, closed hearts, hands too busy to hold with affection? You're not hard to love. You only love deeply. And that scares those who only know how to swim on the edge. You feel everything at a high volume. And those who live in the shallows don't know how to decipher your melody. But the day will come when you will look at yourself with more kindness. You'll realize you didn't need to mold yourself so much, that he didn't need to be so quiet, that you didn't need to leave yourself to fit into spaces that were never made for you. Because whoever really sees you doesn't measure, it doesn't compare, it doesn't ask you to summarize yourself. Whoever truly sees you welcomes you. Look at your chaos with tenderness. See your intensity as beauty, not excess. And this encounter may be rare yet, but it exists. There is someone who will know how to listen to your silence calmly, that will remain even on days when you don't even understand yourself, who will know that your strength also needs, and that your vulnerability is a gift, not a flaw. You don't need a crowd, just for real, of a presence that does not disappear when your pain appears, of love that is not scared by your sincere way of feeling the world. And maybe that love hasn't arrived, but that doesn't invalidate who you are. It does not diminish your value. Don't turn off your light. You are still the same, with all the scars, with all the silences kept, with all this desire to be whole. And being whole, even if it hurts, is what saves you from living half-heartedly. He knows sometimes you have to lose your place to find freedom. It is necessary not to fit. To discover where there is real space, you have to break. to understand that there is beauty in the pieces. There is nothing wrong with someone who feels deeply, with those who cry softly, with whom you dream of reciprocity, with those who get tired but don't give up. You are made of truth. And even if the world asks you to wear masks, don't forget, your essence is what matters most. She is your home, she is your shelter, and if they haven't seen you as you deserve to be seen, don't give up. Only those who have eyes for your soul haven't arrived. Shall we continue? I still have more to tell you. Today, just breathe. Take a deep breath even if your chest is tight. Even if everything around you seems to push ace where you no longer recognize. Even if the silence is weighing too much inside. Breathe. You are already enough. Even when no one chooses you. Even when the message you wanted doesn't arrive. Even when the return turns to silence. You remain whole. Even with the pieces that time broke. Even with the pain that no one understood. Even with the accumulated fatigue from insisting on connections that didn't last. You are enough. Because your worth doesn't depend on anyone's validation. It's easy to forget this when life becomes a kind of invisible test. When it seems like everything needs to be proven, measured, approved. But what you carry cannot be measured. There is no ruler for true sensitivity. There is no criterion for sincere love. You can't put the depth of what you feel on a scale. And that, precisely that, is what makes you special. Not what you do to be accepted, but everything you are when no one is looking. This discreet care, this silent listening, this courage to continue even when everything inside you asks for a break. You are not your performance, not even the sum of the loves that went wrong. You are not the absence that the other left. You are presence, you are root, you are a hug that no one sees but many have felt. And yes, sometimes the world will try to convince you otherwise. He'll say you're awesome, or less, that he is sorry. That delivers early. Who trusts easily, who expects too much. But all of this, when well received, becomes strength. Turn into light, it becomes a shelter. Don't forget, being you completely is your greatest gift, even if no one notices today. Even if it takes time to find someone who sees the value of all. Doubt will scream. I know there are days when the echo is louder than hope, but this voice, this one, reminds you, you don't have to shout to be noticed. You don't have to fall apart to be loved. You don't need to be someone else to deserve to stay. You are whole. Even when you feel broken, even when it doesn't find a reflection in anyone, even when you ask yourself, why doesn't anyone choose me? This voice here has no ready answer, but it has a lap. There is silence that listens. There are words that don't try to correct you, just remind you, you are shelter. Even when the world tries to convince you that it's a burden, today, just breathe. You already carry too much, so let go. Let this truth sink in little by little. No rush, no charge. There's still room for your story here, and I still have something to tell you. Multiply this hug. There are too many people out there carrying the same silent emptiness you felt. People who, like you, are afraid of being too much, or of never being enough for anyone. People who walk around smiling with their hearts in ruins. People who just need to hear, even if it's in a low voice, and that's enough. This message could be a shelter for someone who hasn't been able to breathe. It could be the break you need in a day that seems to never end. It could be the whisper that saves. And sometimes it all starts with a small gesture. Share a video, leave a comment, write something that you yourself needed to hear, but that can touch another heart too. So, write it down below. Which part of this video feels like it was written for your soul? Your answer may resonate exactly where someone needs it most. Sometimes what you feel, and are afraid to show, is exactly what someone else needs to read to feel less alone. And come back here. Whenever silence weighs, whenever your chest tightens, whenever you forget that you have value even in the darkest days, that voice, this calm, this shelter, it's yours too, and when the world doesn't understand you. Remember, here, Your silence has space, and your feeling is never too much. In the next video, I'll wait for you there. There is more silence to be welcomed, and more truths that need to be whispered calmly.